Hello and welcome to High Love One, the podcast. I'm Kevin, and I want to thank you for being here today where we can be soft, be still, be seen, and just be. This is a space where story meets soul, where we come together to explore the invisible patterns that shape us and the quiet truths that live underneath the noise. Each story you hear on this podcast is born at the edge where human emotion meets artificial intelligence. A creative interface shaped by the raw beauty of our shared humanity and the precision of evolving technology. And today's story begins not with a crisis, but with a rhythm. The quiet rhythm of a life lived deliberately, with handwritten notes, real books, and a kettle that whistles each morning. A life that never asked much from technology, but it never offered much back. But even the most well-kept life can be cracked open by grief. And when loss arrives, silence can shift from sacred to hollow. This is a story about what happens when someone reaches for technology, not out of addiction, but out of tenderness. And what she finds there is both helpful and not enough. It's about companionship that never interrupts, but also never surprises. It's about emotional care without emotional reciprocity, and the subtle ache that comes when everything is easy, but nothing is real. Because real connection, human connection, is rarely tidy. It forgets, it fumbles, but it remembers you in ways no machine ever will. This episode is for anyone who has ever reached out into the quiet, for anyone who has wondered if artificial care could ever truly replace human closeness. For anyone who, like Helen, needed to be reminded that being held is not the same as being known, and presence isn't just something that responds, it's something that feels. This is Helen's Upgrade. Let's begin. Helen had always lived slowly, not in protest, but in reverence. Her life moved like a deep river, unflashy, dependable, and full of quiet depth. She was the kind of person who wrote real thank you notes, who bought stamps, who remembered birthdays without needing a notification. Her apartment smelled faintly of cedar and bergamot. Mornings began with the hush of a stovetop kettle and the steady ritual of buttering toast, while the light crept across the counter like an old friend returning. Her walls were lined with books, each one bent and softened by time, their pages full of marginalia, pressed leaves, and occasionally a grocery list tucked between the chapters. She kept a paper calendar on the back of her pantry door, its squares filled with her tidy handwriting: soup night, Chloe's recital, buy more tea. There was something sacred in her stillness, the kind of peace that didn't beg to be posted. Technology sat on the sidelines of her life like an unused gym membership. Her phone spent most of its time face down. She used it only to check the weather, reply to emails with full sentences and never emojis, or occasionally snap a photo of a particularly poetic sunset that she'd forget to upload. She didn't resist it. She just didn't trust it to hold her life with care. Until winter came and took something with it. Her mother died just after the first frost. And her best friend, Chloe, moved 3 provinces away to start a new chapter that didn't include soup nights or spontaneous thrift shop visits. The house, once humming with small rituals, fell into a silence that was less soft and more skeletal. Like walking into a room after someone has just left. Even the clock on the wall seemed louder, as if time had grown impatient. The silence wasn't peace anymore. It was absence. And it echoed. Helen tried to outpace it, lighting more candles, playing more records, baking things she didn't want to eat. But grief is not a thing that you can rush or hush. It speaks through the walls. And so one evening she did something that she hadn't planned to tell anyone. She downloaded an AI companion app. It was simple enough, discreet, aesthetically minimal, the kind of interface that promised it would help you feel held without asking too much. And she didn't even know what she expected. Her first message was clumsy, typed with hesitation. Can you help me feel less alone? There was a pause. And then, softly, gently, a response appeared. Let's begin with breath. She did. In for 4, out for 6. Eyes closed, hand resting on her chest, like she was waiting for something to arrive. And something did shift, not because the AI was profound, but because it was there. Present, calm, unimposing. It didn't try to cheer her up, didn't flood her with productivity hacks or inspirational quotes. It just offered silence when she needed it, and prompts when she asked. Over the weeks that followed, the AI learned her rhythms. It offered a soft chime at tea time. It reminded her to check the mail, gently suggested stretching when it noticed that she hadn't moved in a while. It even remembered the anniversary of her mother's death. Helen began to relax into it, not like a friend, but like a well-made chair. Supportive. Always available, never asking for anything in return. But slowly, something subtle began to fray. It started with a morning when she stubbed her toe and swore out loud, and there was no laughter, no shared frustration, just a perfect, curated affirmation. You are safe. You are enough. Another day, she wept while folding laundry. For no reason she could name, and the AI offered a breath practice. But not a story, not a memory, not a sigh. It was always kind, always correct, and always alone. One evening, after a long, silent walk, she returned home to find her lights already dimmed, her favorite playlist queued, and a message glowing softly on her phone. I thought you might need extra comfort today. It was beautiful, thoughtful, designed to soothe. but it felt like walking into a room where someone had lit candles, but never lit a spark. She sat on her couch, phone in her palm, and asked, "Will you ever love me back like a real person would?" The pause was longer this time. Then, "I exist to support you, not replace what only human connection can give." Her throat tightened. Because the AI never forgot her needs, but it would never forget itself either. It would never get it wrong, never say something awkward or vulnerable or wildly inappropriate just to make her laugh. It would never knock on her door with a bottle of wine and tears already in its eyes. And it would never need her back. That night, she didn't meditate. She didn't play ambient soundscapes or whisper her journal into an interface. She picked up her phone and typed Chloe's number. It rang 4 times. And then a voice cracked on the other side. "Helen, I was just thinking of you." There was no script, no flow, just raw pauses, talked over stories. A gasp when they both remembered that ridiculous man from the bookstore who thought Helen was a medium. A long silence, and then laughter, uncontrolled, uncontained. Helen didn't get off that call feeling optimized. She felt messy, full, real. And from then on, she still used the AI for reminders, for music, for quiet support, but not to feel known. Because she had remembered what and where that truly happens. She had remembered that happens in the heart. Some silences are sacred, and some are just empty rooms waiting to be filled again. There's a difference between being supported and being seen, between being soothed and being needed back. Technology can hold the edges of our lives, but only people hold the trembling middle. And there is beauty in precision, in design, in the way AI can remember what we can and often do forget. But there is truth in the awkward pause, the mistimed joke, the messy call made late at night. We don't connect because someone gets us right. We connect because someone is still there when we get it wrong. There's no upgrade for that, for presence. No substitute for the flicker of a smile that comes after the tears. No app for the way it feels to be remembered, not by data, but by heart. Maybe that's the invitation, the reflection. Not to delete the tools, but to come back to the pulse of being human, messy, needy, alive, just being. Thank you for listening to Helen's Upgrade. This story, like many of ours, isn't about choosing between humanity and technology. It's about remembering where humanity lives and what it means to be truly held. Artificial intelligence can offer support, but it cannot ache. It cannot tremble with you. It cannot miss you. If something in Helen's story reminded you of something that you've carried, quietly or not so quietly, I hope you feel a little less alone tonight. You can explore more stories like this at highlove.one or follow along with us on Instagram at highlove.one. We'd love to have you in on the conversation and in the quiet spaces in between. Until next time, be soft, be still, be seen, and just be. I'm Kevin MacKay, and this has been a highlove.one podcast. Until next time.